Okay, before I get into the first stretch, there's one point that I want to make, and that is this. As we go through life and we're relating to gravity and all the stresses of life, what happens is we're hardwired neurologically to actually get into what I call a flexion state. Okay, a flexion state is, you can see this very clearly with anybody with Alzheimer's or some of the more degenerative neurological diseases. Everything goes like this, okay? If you ever want to sort of see that in action very quickly, you've seen kids on the playground or somewhere, you kick a guy in the groin and all of a sudden he's like this, okay? We're actually hardwired neurologically to have more strong neurological wiring that brings us into a flexion state. When we developed in the womb, we were in a state like this. So anytime you're under stress, that's the natural state that your nervous system is going to put your body. So you'll see that a lot of these stretches that I'm doing are actually to open you up into what I call extension. Okay? So here's the difference. A posture of extension is one that's actually holding you upright to gravity. And it's a very simple equation that I teach my patients, that the brain is running all the time, and that is this. Your eyes want to maintain a level horizon. Your brain wants to keep your body underneath it for maximal resistance to gravity, and by doing that, the body's in a minimal energy output state. Okay, so everything wants to go to the lowest energy state. So by keeping my body underneath it, maximal resistance, minimal energy output, I'm very efficient, versus if I was like this. I'm expending a lot of energy now to keep myself upright, and it takes a lot of energy away from other things like thinking, digestion, respiration, hormone balance, and all that. So posture is really an important piece, and shy from getting into a very specific type of chiropractic which focuses on unwinding that posture and the compensations that lead to a breakdown in that. This is something that you can do to help reinforce the extension of, or the extensor neurology. Okay, so in a state of extension where you have good posture, I call that a state of adaptation and growth. The body's actually designed to regenerate itself, but it has to be in an optimal state in order to do that. And that would be the state where you have maximal resistance to gravity, minimal energy output. Okay, a state of compensation is the state of flexion. Anything that moves from this position into here, or if I move from the side, from this position where everything's lined up relative to gravity, to collapsing down like this, and we've all seen the old gummers who walk around, they're like this. That's a state of physiological stress. As soon as you get that forward head posture like this, or the shoulders roll forward, you've got now 30% less oxygen being brought into your body. That's going to have an effect on digestion, respiration, hormone balance, mood, attitude, you name it. It affects your entire physiology. Okay? So, first thing that I do is I come in and I keep my shoulders my feet about shoulder width apart, and I'm simply going to drop down onto my haunches, onto my heels. Okay? And again, the idea is I want to have flexibility in my spine. Now, I'm starting actually in a state of flexion, and that's okay. But the reason I start that way is we're all sort of hardwired to get this way. Now, if you can't get down to this point, you need to work on that, okay? This is the goal where you want to get. Some people are going to have to come up like this, and that's fine. Just what you're going to do is you're going to tuck your head down and try to rock back on your heels, okay? Again, as I said earlier, do the best you can if you can't get into the positions that I'm in, okay? Now, anytime I get into a stretch position, I want to breathe deeply, I want to let everything relax, and I'm going to hold it for about 10 or 15 seconds. We don't have to do 30, 60-second stretches and go back and forth. I mean, that's all a good thing. But remember, I'm trying to give you things that you can do very quickly, recalibrate your body, get it ready to go move through the day, and move on, okay? So, if I hang out like this, and I just kind of tuck my chin, and I'm actually going to be kind of pushing my back out. I'm trying to curl my back. Then I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to place it behind my back, and I'm just going to reach, like I'm trying to reach for something over here. You may feel some muscles kind of pop and, tension release in there. Okay? And then I'm going to come back to center. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to push my back. Okay? I'm pulling and curling everything up. Then I'm going to put my right hand back and I'm just simply going to reach. Just reach. Okay? And you'll feel that open up. I want to keep breathing and just exhale. Okay? And again, you can take a little more time to do that, but I just want to show you what we're doing. Okay? Now, from this position, all I'm going to do is I want to stay curled up. I'm going to start in the flexion. We're going to end with the extension work, okay? So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in like this. And how many of you seen little kids? They have a blast when they just kind of curl up like that and they roll back, okay? And they sit there and they rock. Now, if you can do that, great. If you can't, all I want you to do is lie back, bring one knee up at a time, okay? And I'm going to start with my head down on the floor. I'm just going to curl up, okay? And the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of rock back and forth. Some of you who've got stiff, sore backs, rocking back and forth like this is actually going to feel good, okay? If this is about as good as you can get curled up, do that, okay? And then just simply rock back and forth, but keep your head back on the floor. We'll get the head back up off the floor in a minute, okay? So ideally you want to be able to really curl everything up like this, and then I'm going to start rocking my head up off the floor as I continue to rock back and forth, okay? Again, you may feel some little snapping and popping down here. You should not feel pain, but you might feel some tension release, and that's okay. That's exactly what we want to do, okay? Once I'm in this position, I can actually curl up as far as I can get today. I'm going to keep one leg up. And I'm going to drop my head back. And all I want to do is I want to pull that leg up a little bit tighter. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax. You're going to feel some pulling and stretching down in here. Okay? Some of you may actually feel some binding up in the hip. I don't want pain. Okay? So if you feel binding, just take it to where you can. We're going to have to work on opening the hips up a little bit later. Okay? Then you're going to drop that leg down and you'll come up with the other leg. And same thing, you're just going to pull it up as far as you can go, okay? Now, you can keep your head back, you can pull it forward, and you're going to feel different tension in your body. In fact, if you want to just kind of stretch slowly up, slowly back, you can do that, okay? Now, I'm going to move into the next stretch, which is, again, we're going to start opening up the hip flexors, all right? One of the things that happens when we go into the stress physiology, it's not just that we curl up this way, but our knees and our adductors, the muscles in here, actually squeeze together, okay? So what we want to do is we want to open all that up. And I'm just going to sit with my knees locked, my toes are pointing straight up, okay? And keeping my low back, I'm going to actually curl, sort of sway my back as much as I can. Keep it straight. And keeping that straight, I'm actually going to just stretch forward at the hips. Keeping my head up. I'm not doing this, okay? The objective is not to see how close I can get my head to the ground. The objective is to actually stretch the hips. So I'm going to lock the knees out, and I'm just going to move forward until I feel a stretch, and I'm going to hold. Now some of you are going to be very flexible. You'll put your face down here, and others of you are going to be sitting like this, and that's a stretch. And that's okay. I want you just to do what you can do, and progressively over time it will improve. So now you're going to just drop here. And again, I just want to breathe in, I want to breathe out, and I want to hold. And I'm going to hold it about 10 or 15 seconds. I can do 3 repetitions of this. I can come back up, and then I can slowly move back in. We can do that, okay? You'll see when I do the routine, I have my extended routine if I have time. If I'm really in a rush, let's say I overslept because I didn't get enough sleep or something like that, I still do my stretches. I don't miss them, but I'll do an abbreviated version, okay? Now, from this position, I want to reach over and just grab onto the foot, okay? If it's the thigh or the calf, whatever. I just want to hold and stretch. And again, I'm keeping my back kind of up like this. I'm moving my head forward and I'm feeling the stretch behind my hamstrings. Okay, I come to the center again. I'm going to move forward, and then I'm going to stretch over again. And I'm just opening up this whole side and looking that way. I'm keeping my head up. And then I come back to center. Okay. Now, again, we're working on the hip flexors, and I'm just going to come into what I call the butterfly stretch. Do this as best you can. Some of you are going to be up like this, and that's as far as you go. That's fine. Over time, as you work this program, you'll be doing more and more. Okay, but you want to get to the point where you've got a butterfly stretch. People who are a little more flexible, you can hold on to your feet, you can push down like this. Okay, and you can push down on your thighs to get a little bit more of a stretch. Whatever works, all right? Again, I'm going to be breathing, I'm going to be exhaling, and I'm going to just push it down into more of a stretch, not into pain, but just a stretch. And you'll feel it open up the whole adductor area, the hip flexor area of your body. Okay? Now, right from this position, you'll see my stretches. I do a very fluid move from one thing to the next. And that's how you get through this thing quickly. It's just very efficient. I'm just going to take my right leg and I'm going to push it out straight. This one is still in a butterfly position. Okay? I'm going to keep my knee locked out. My toe is pointed straight up. Okay? I don't want it like this and I don't want it like this. Okay? If this is as far as you can go, keeping your upper body forward, but you can straighten it out by going to this, then this is your stretch. Okay? I want the knee locked out and the foot pointed straight up. And then I'm going to be in the same position, keeping my head up, and I'm just feeling it stretch all along back here and in my low back. And I just hold, breathe in, breathe out, and come back out of it. And I switch sides. I'm going to move into the left foot forward. Okay? I move forward. I'm going to breathe in, breathe out, and I'm going to hold. Now, if you've got the time and the inclination, and you want to hold this for a good 60 seconds, that's fine. Ideally, you want to do 3 sets. Okay, so every time I stretch the muscle, I'm stretching it a little bit more, okay? And remember, we haven't really done anything to warm the muscles up or any of that, all right? This is what you do just coming right out of bed. So I don't want you going in and really pushing this thing, because the muscles, even though you've been sleeping and you're warm, they haven't really been warmed up. They don't have a lot more blood flow moving through them. Okay, so simply by doing this, slowly but surely, you're actually getting a little bit more blood flow through the legs or through the muscles. Okay, so and you can see the second time I was able to go a little bit lower. Okay, now from this position, what I'm going to do is since I'm already on the floor, I'm going to go into another move that's going to open up the hip flexors a little bit more. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to get into what I call a fencer's lunge. Okay? And you can see how I moved into this position. Now again, if you can't get into that position, if this is as far as you can go, that's fine. You're not really having to use the upper body, so you can lean against this leg if you want. The idea is I just want to stretch the inside of my thigh. Okay? If you can get to this point, that's where we want to go. And I'm just going to hold it, and you'll feel quite a stretch in here. Okay? As I said, if you have to support yourself up a little bit higher, if this is the stretch, that's fine. Okay? But I'm going to drop down into this. Okay? Now from this position, I'm actually going to slowly move myself. You can see how my foot goes flat. Okay? My foot actually goes flat. And I'm coming in and I'm actually going to drop my hip down toward the floor. I'm going to open up this whole area. You'll feel it up in your abdominal area, your obliques. Okay? And then I can actually look away in the other direction. I'm just going to turn away. Now, if you're really adventurous or if you're really flexible, you can move into a position like this and just stretch that thigh out a little bit more. You can see how we're opening up out of that flexion position. We're extending, okay? And then I drop down to here. And again, I'm keeping my body upright as much as I can. If you can't get this low, just do the best you can. You'll get there eventually, okay? And frankly, some people are just stiffer, and they can never get to this point. But you can get as best as you can down to that point. Now I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to come over here, and again, I've just opened this up. Sometimes if you're feeling loose, flexible, you can kind of push down on that hip a little bit. I don't ever want to see bouncing. Don't ever bounce, okay? That's a ballistic maneuver for the muscles, and you'll injure yourself. Then I'm going to pivot over. I'm going to drop the hip down, and I'm going to look away. And I'm just leaning into it. Okay, and then I'm going to pull this leg up if I can. If you can't do this, don't feel bad. Just work toward that, okay? A lot of people will get it to the point where they can't necessarily hold it, but if they go up like this and drop in, you still get a little bit more of a stretch, okay? And then I'm going to move back over like this. And I'm opening this up and I'm just holding, okay? So that's how we're going to do it. Then we're going to get down onto our stomachs. Now, most of our neurology, again, designed under a stress physiology, is to take us into flexion, curl us up into that fetal position. This is a very, very powerful exercise for anybody, especially people who've had chronic back problems. Even if you have disc herniations, you may want to spend some time on your stomach if you've got an inflamed disc with a couple of pillows underneath your belly holding you in this position, okay? And it may be uncomfortable. There's a big difference, however, between hurt and harm, okay? Discomfort is not always harmful. But by getting into that position and breathing and relaxing, you'll find all of a sudden your low back will start to release a lot of that tension. I know what I'm talking about because I've been there, done that, okay? So what I want to do is I want you right now just to lie flat down. Now, early morning stretching, if you're really tired, the caution here is you may fall asleep if you hang out here too long, so don't. Okay? But what we want to do, and again, I'm going to show you two variations. One is for people who have a hard time, and then the next one is going to be for people who are a little more flexible. So, some people, what I want to do with this is I want to actually extend the lower back, but not with muscle contraction. I can extend the lower back and pull myself up like that with muscle contraction. But the idea is to stretch, and it's more to stretch the front side than it is to strengthen the back side, okay? So, some of you may feel just lying like this, just with your arms underneath your chest, is going to be enough to kind of stretch that front side, and you'll feel a little bit of tension in the low back. You can actually traction the low back by moving your forearms a little forward and kind of pulling yourself forward and letting everything relax and just breathing into this stretch, okay? So I'm going to breathe. I'm going to pull forward a little bit. See how I'm just pulling forward with my elbows? I'm going to exhale, and I'm going to push my body up a little bit more, okay? When I first started doing this years ago, I had a severe disc herniation. It took me about 2 months of just lying flat on my stomach with a couple of pillows underneath my belly. And doing the same thing to try to traction it into this position, okay? So you'll get to the point where you can get up a little more smoothly. So if this is all you can do, just do that. Work to where you can come up and you can get that nice arch in the low back. Again, I'm tractioning myself a little bit forward, okay? And eventually we want to get to the point where by keeping the pelvis on the floor, we're going to put our hands right about chest level, okay? And I'm going to curl up. I'm just going to push myself up and curl everything up and look up, okay? And I'm not really trying to contract the muscles of my back. It's just pushing everything up and stretching, and you can hang out here for a while, okay? And if you want, you can kind of drop to the side, open up one side, drop to the other side. You're going to turn your head away, okay? And you can see I'm just going to kind of roll back and forth. I'll hold it, and I'll roll this way, and I'll hold it. Come back to center. I'm going to look straight up, and I'll slowly come back down. Now, this is one that I encourage people to do 3 or 4 times. This is a very powerful one, especially if you've got any kind of low back issues, okay? You want to get to the point where you can really kind of work up into a stretch like this, keeping your pelvis down on the ground, all right? Then once we move from this position, we're going to come back up, and our routine is actually almost over. We'll do real time next. But next, I want you to interlace your hands like this, and this is going to stretch the chest and the shoulders. Try to lock your arms out. Now some of you, especially my muscle heads, you guys aren't going to be able to really lock them out. You can actually hold a towel between your hands back here, but do the best you can to lock your arms out. I'm going to extend my shoulders back. Now this is a little bit of a muscle contraction, but I'm stretching the front side, and I'm going to pull my hands up as high as I can. And I'm just going to come up like that. I'm going to drop back down. I'm going to let it go. Okay? Interlace my fingers again. I'm going to contract it back like this. Okay? You can see I have to work at it a little bit to get it locked out. I'm going to pull up, and then I'm going to pull my body up and hold, and I'm just going to feel the stretch in the pecs and in the shoulders. Okay? Now, we're going to move up. Again, we've done a lot of extension here. I want to get flexibility into the spine. I don't want it just to be staying sort of programmed to stretch. So I'm going to work my way up into the little fetal position. I'm going to drop down here. Now, again, some of you who are experiencing back issues, going from extension, now your body's gotten used to that, going back into flexion is going to be a little bit tender, okay? Just slowly work into it. You're not going to cause any harm or hurt with this, okay? There's no injury that's going to occur. But I'm going to curl down as best I can, okay? If this is as far as you go, fine. Get down into here as far as you can, all right? Then I'm going to come back up, and that's just to hold it and kind of stretch. Then we're going to do what I call the cat back, okay? I want flexibility in the spine. The best way to resist gravity and aging is to maintain flexibility of the spine. It's also the best way to prevent any kind of injury, whether it's from incorrect posture, incorrect sitting, or actual athletic injury, okay? So I'm going to curl my back up as far as I can. I'm tucking my chin. I'm kind of pulling my hips forward and pushing my back. It's like I'm trying to pull my back up like this. Then I'm going to slowly sink it down like I'm trying to push my belly button down through the floor, extend my head up, okay? Stick my butt up in the air, stick my head up in the air, belly button goes to the floor, and then I'm going to move up again. And back down, okay? And we can do that a few times, all right? Now, final thing, we've usually got a lot of issues in a flexion posture with our calves. Our calves get very tight, it leads to plantar fasciitis and all kinds of different problems. So I'm just going to come up very quickly, rock right into this position. You can see how I'm stretching my calves, I'm stretching my hamstrings, okay? I want you to get to the position where you can get your heel down, okay? If this is the best you can do and you're getting a stretch, that's fine. But work to get the heel down, okay? I'm going to do that for a little bit. Again, I'm locking my knee out. I'm pushing my butt back. Then I take the next foot and I do that. And I'm just holding it, okay? I'm going to hold it for about 10 or 15 seconds. And I'll actually go back and forth. You'll see when we do the real time. Now, ideally, I want you to be able to walk yourself back up to a position like this, okay? Now, you may not have this flexibility, but get as close as you can. You're going to hold, pushing straight down, locking the knees back. I'm going to go back to my shoulders, okay, and you're going to see how this opens everything up. I'm going to push up and back. I'm going to lift with my head first. You can see I'm curving my back. I'm swaying my back a little bit. And I'm going to stand up. And I'm going to keep extending back. And I'm going to hold. And now I'm really stretching my chest, shoulders, low back, okay, and stomach. Then I'm going to come back to center. Final thing I'm going to do is I want to stretch, open up my shoulders and this part here. And I can very easily do that by stretching straight up, pushing like this. Again, breathing is going to be important. We'll do that when we do real time because I'm just going to do it and show it, okay? And then I'm going to stretch to the side a little bit, okay, within a pain-free zone, okay? If you feel binding or pinching, just back off, okay? And then we're going to drop down this way. And we're going to do that, okay? I'm going to arch back just a little bit. I'm going to bring my arms and shoulders back like this, stretch it, and you're done. Simple, easy stretches, okay? The key is to work within a pain-free zone. If you can't get down to the level, don't try to compare yourself to what I've been doing. I've been doing this for years and years, over 22 years. But gradually work into this. If you have an injury, just take your time with it, okay? If it's something that's really bothering you, if you've got a doctor, chiropractor, or orthopedist, osteopath, somebody like that, go talk to them about it and make sure that you're not causing any problems. I've never experienced in my own body and in any of my patients any problems with doing these exercises if it's done correctly and you take your time. Okay? So in part 2, you can flip to that now. We're going to do it actually in real time. We're going to pretend that we just got up and we went to the bathroom and we start stretching. Okay?